but I always kind of dismissed it as just like, like automatic product alerts and stuff like that. But this year was really, well, I should say that last year was really the year that, especially Gabe kind of convinced me to, explore it more seriously as a way to actually engage your audience and to put more stock into actually collecting phone numbers as opposed to emails.
All right. We got my friend, my business partner, my mentor, Anno Domini. Adrian, what's up, bro?
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, of course, of course. I'm super excited to get into some of this stuff. I love doing interviews with different people, getting different perspectives. But it's definitely fun to geek out with you on some of these projects we've been working on together. I'm really kind of go deep on what's really been working, and we've had a couple of I would say very successful recent launches and campaigns that I think people are going to get a lot of value from.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just a great chance for us also to kind of look back, reflect, discuss the numbers. And, sometimes these sessions with you, I'm learning just as much because you have a different perspective that maybe we didn't get a chance to discuss previously. So it's helpful all around.
Perfect, perfect. So yeah, so I think the plan here is we're going to talk about kind of these two basically kind of related launches that we did with the contest that we're doing, with the Black Friday pack that we released, talking about some of the things that worked, some of the things that didn't, and along the lines of the thing that worked the most, we've got a pretty exciting announcement about a tool that we've been using that we're actually going to start making available to everybody. So we'll all that
Yeah,
to
man, I'm
come.
super excited actually to share this one. So yeah, it's definitely something that in a lot of ways almost saved our launch. So yeah, I'm excited to get into that and explain a little bit more.
Yeah, man, for sure, for sure. Okay, so maybe we'd start with quick kind of overview of these two launches. I think it'll be great for us to actually come back and do a super in-depth, deep dive into each of those separately of all the things that worked and didn't and stuff like that. But I think we can start to talk about them here. So I don't know, maybe if you want to just kind of explain like what are those two things between the contest and that Black Friday pack and kind of how they relate and just what we were doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, right? I feel like every year we almost trump ourselves and try to complicate things even more and just go crazier and bigger and harder. But yeah, so basically what we did, and this kind of all started, I guess October last year. We launched this contest together with Tech9, who's one of the most successful independent rappers of all time, and a lot of artists in our specific community really, idolize him as this kind of self-made artist. So we figured that would be a perfect match for us to get on board and collaborate with. So we kind of kicked things off in October with that Tech9 contest. The winner gets to record a track with Tech9. And then that kind of led into, we were building this kind of momentum that carried us through into Black Friday. And traditionally, for like 7 years at this point, I've always launched some kind of a big pack of beats for Black Friday. I know you have too, Gabe. So, a year ago, we kind of decided to join forces, just do something together. And this is kind of the second year of us doing that. Because at the end of the day, we just realized it's more fun to collaborate on these things and, try new things, experiment. And yeah, all for the benefit also of the producer community, because that way we get to hopefully find some cool new strategies and tactics, like, something we're going to be talking about today. So, it just makes for great content, entertainment, also education for producers. So yeah, that's what happened. So we did this big launch at Black Friday. We called it Industry Icons 2. And what it was a beat pack with the twist of also including an artist feature, since that kind of tied back to the contest as well, where the winner gets to have a feature with Tech9. So that's how it kind of all ties into like one big event almost, right? We don't even think of it as like two separate things, but it's like a continuation of the whole thing. Yeah, so that's where we're at. And as last year, it did very well. Super happy with it. Every year we just try to outdo ourselves, make it a little bit bigger, a little bit better, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and the cool thing is we're actually still, while recording, they're still really in the middle of it because the contest is still going for a couple months. That Icons pack, we'll do one relaunch of it. So in a sense, we're kind of halfway through. And just to share some of the numbers so far that we're excited about, the contest itself, as of I think today, is at $114,416. So not too long ago, past that six-figure mark. Which is pretty awesome. And then that icons pack, the Black Friday pack, which was actually only available for 2 weeks, did $179,285. So 179,000, almost $180,000 in revenue in a couple weeks, which is pretty awesome.
Happy day.
Including day one actually did $53,923. So 53, about $54,000 in a day on that beat pack.
Yeah, that was crazy. And the build up to that first day of sales, I mean, that's definitely something we can kind of deep dive on in a separate episode once like this whole launch is wrapped up.
Yeah.
But just that build up to that first day and having that huge rush of sales, it just, it builds up so much excitement and is the kind of, like when you see those sales rolling in day one, it just carries you through and builds momentum for you to just keep pushing and grinding until the end of that thing too. So
Yeah.
really fun to see.
Makes it super exciting, and that's something that I've been doing, or I should say we've been doing more and more recently, of really building up the hype at the beginning of a launch. I know for me in the past, the last day of a launch was always by far my biggest, and it's kind of human nature, right? People don't want to miss out. So if there's a deadline of, well, this is my last day to get it, a lot of people are going to wait till that last day, right? And that's by the one of the most powerful tools you can kind of use in selling and marketing, whether if it's beats or anything else, is that urgency and scarcity. And the proof is right there. If, basically I'll be emailing the same list about the same offer for a week or even two, but then all of a sudden on the very last day, there's more sales sometimes that day than the last week combined, right?
Yeah.
But so that's super powerful. But what's really cool is doing more of adding that kind of urgency and excitement and build up to the launch, to the beginning of the launch. And so you end up getting, instead of just like this kind of like sort of flat curve and then way up at the very end, you get like a really high up first day, then maybe it kind of levels it out and then comes back up a bit at the end. So that's kind of been fun to add that in there.
Yeah, for sure. And the way you do that is basically by building in urgency twice, right? So at the start of the launch, what we do is we open up an early access list to basically, be among the first group of artists to receive the B pack when it launches. And the way that you frame that is essentially, it's going to be a limited edition release. There's only going to be a set number of copies available. So if you want to guarantee that you're going to get a copy, you have to be on the early access list and you have to get it as soon as it drops. So that way, there's obviously a sudden rush on the first day to secure a copy. And then again, at the very end, when for sure people know like, hey, the countdown timer is expiring, we're taking this thing away for good. Those last few people that just needed a little bit of nudging, or maybe who saw the offer at the beginning, but they weren't able to get it because of whatever reason, it just kind of pushes them over the edge too. So you kind of get that same effect twice, which is obviously awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And just to break down even a little bit more, the mechanics of that is, we just set up a very simple opt-in page, which means it's a page where somebody enters their name, email, and phone number, which is what we're going to get more into, is that text messaging has been a huge thing that basically saved this launch. So we get that information and just say, hey, do you want to get on the early access list? Try to hype it up. One of the things that really helps with that is adding a little curiosity. So maybe not telling them every single detail of what's coming, but just enough to get them excited about it. Be like, yes, I want to be on the early access list. And then making it clear what are the incentives? What's the reason why they want to be on that early access list? And one of them is, hey, we're planning on selling out of this. We sold out last year. So if you're early, you're guaranteed, or more likely guaranteed to get your spot. But then also saying, hey, we're going to open up the cart, we're going to make it available for sale to just the early access list for a certain amount of time. In our case, we did 24 hours. So the only people who could buy on day one were on that early access list. And then on top of that, we also gave them a bonus, which was, I think, some additional beats, right? So now it's like there's all these reasons for them to be really excited to get on that list in the first place. And then like refresh their email, make sure they're keeping an eye on their text messages because they want to be the first to be able to buy, because they're going to get all these incentives for actually doing that.
Yeah, it just kind of beautifully wraps up all those things that we always preach, right? Like the urgency, scarcity, momentum, excitement, all of those things, right? So it's definitely the way to do it. And I feel like I've kind of won you over as well a little bit with that tactic of opening up the early access, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't even used to do it, and
Yeah.
now I'm like, now I can't imagine doing a launch without it.
There you go. Yeah, and I mean, I'll be honest though, there were definitely some stumbling blocks with this one, and a big one was actually, funny enough, traffic. Right, I feel like in the past, traffic was something that you and I did really well. We always got a ton of traffic to our launches, but actually, this funnel that we launched got quite substantially less traffic than the one from last year. I think it was almost like 30% less traffic or something like that, which is a lot. We're talking like tens of thousands of people. So that was definitely something that was super worrying. And part of that, at least, has to do with the fact that Facebook ads just aren't working, right? That used to be something that we dependably relied on to get traffic, paid traffic to our funnel for the launches. And paid traffic is definitely a great way to kind of explode traffic when it comes to a very short time window during those launches, right?
Yeah.
So I think like last year we spent a hefty sum on paid traffic because we were getting such an incredible return on our investment, like a return on our ad spend. I think it was at least like a 1.6x or even 2x or something like that.
Yeah.
And this year that's been diminished massively, right? I don't even know what the stats are, but I think we're just about like making a small profit on the ad spend, which
That's
was
right.
obviously super concerning.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's this kind of stuff happens. It's just the internet moves so quickly, right? Facebook and Instagram ads come out, they're absolutely amazing. Then different things come in. There's more competition as far as other people competing for that ad space. There's more regulation coming in, pressure from the government, which, creates more limitations of what you can do. All these different things, and just the evolution of a business or a platform. So I think to some extent we knew like the good old days wouldn't last forever. But this was definitely the first year where it was like, oh man, this was a lot of things that combined, including one of the big ones was the iOS update, which is with iPhone users. If you're an iPhone user, you may have noticed that you'll get this pop up now whenever you open up a new app that basically says, "Hey, would you like to allow this software to track your activity?" Right? And this was something that before was by default was happening, and the reason why that's so powerful is because that's part of what allows us to do that really that really powerful, that really effective targeting on Facebook to know like, or Facebook and Instagram ads like, hey, this person is interested in this thing, this person has visited this page, this person has done all these things that we can look at and make those ads really effective. Now that it's essentially an opt out, meaning sort of by default, people are opted out, or I should say it's an opt in, because by default people are opted out. They have to kind of like say, yes, I want you to track me.
Yeah. Who
That
does that, by
base,
the way? It sounds like so sinister, right? Do you want
I
us to track
know,
you?
I
No.
know. And this is probably a whole nother debate that we get into as far as privacy and targeted advertising. And, I think my view on it is maybe a little different than some of the popular, views on it, where there's a ton of benefits to it. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather see a targeted ad from something I'm interested in than not, so to me it's like, that's great.
Yeah.
Um, Anyways, we don't have to get deep into that because there's a lot to it. But the
Yeah.
point is, it shifted, right? For us as business owners, who are essentially made those less effective. And I do want to mention too, before we go too far on Facebook and Instagram ads, we still used them. We still use them profitably. They still are part of our strategy. So I'm not saying, hey, the sky has fallen, it's completely over. It's just not nearly as effective as it used to be. And hopefully, as they figure some of this stuff out, it'll get at least better than it is now. But ultimately, what ended up happening is we weren't able to spend as much money. In fact, I've got the numbers here. So for the icons pack, for the Black Friday pack, we spent about $18,775. Let's just say $19,000, in those 2 weeks. And I don't have the numbers from the previous year in front of me, but I think it was probably about double that.
Yeah.
The reason why we were able to spend double that is because we were getting a bigger return on ad spend. Whenever we try to kind of scale this up in those, within that 2 week period, the returns weren't there. So we were only really able to do that to about that level there. Now, for $180,000 in revenue, $18,000 or $19,000 in ad spend is great. Obviously, there's other expenses and things, but it's just not what it used to be.
Yeah. Like Gabe said, it still works, but it's kind of like, the gold rush where you walk into the mine and you're not coming out with like an entire nugget of gold. Now you're just like sieving through the tiny pieces in the river and like finding the little dust, right? So,
Yeah.
you can still definitely get a return on your investment. It's just not going to be like 2x or 5x or whatever some people were making back in the day.
That's right.
But I mean, fortunately, we've spent all these years building up our lists to the point where we could kind of lean on them more heavily to do the heavy lifting and still ultimately come out on top and still have the biggest launch that we've ever done, essentially, over that time period, over the 2 weeks or whatever it was. And like one of the absolute crucial elements of that success was actually leaning more heavily into something called SMS marketing or text message marketing. And that's something that I sort of vaguely explored in the past. I've had this like text message service on Modern Producers for like a year or two, but I always kind of dismissed it as just like, like automatic product alerts and stuff like that. But this year was really, well, I should say that last year was really the year that, especially Gabe kind of convinced me to, explore it more seriously as a way to actually engage your audience and to put more stock into actually collecting phone numbers as opposed to emails. I mean, don't get me wrong, having an email address is still very powerful. I still highly recommend everyone collects all your customers' emails. But collecting that phone number and being able to text that person is just much more of a direct connection with that customer to be able to talk to them, to text them. And guess what? It's going to pop up on their phone instantly, as opposed to them, maybe twice a day checking their email, scrolling through, maybe kind of like reading it, maybe not. Um, SMS is just that direct connection directly to the end consumer. And it's just a fantastic way to get a huge open rate, get a much bigger conversion rate, way more replies. And really, with this launch in particular, it just completely knocked it out of the park for us.
Yeah, it's that was our secret weapon, and it's something that we talk about relatively often is this concept of borrowing your traffic or owning your traffic, right? So if we are spending money on ads or putting out organic post or content on social media, whether if that's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, wherever, we're borrowing that traffic, right? That traffic really belongs to Mark Zuckerberg or Larry and Sergey, who own Google, who own YouTube. We don't own it. And so they can change the rules, they can change the algorithm, they can kick you off those platforms. These are all things that happen all the time, right? And so that's what we talk about, the importance of owning your traffic. And really the only way to own your traffic is if you have that direct connection through either somebody's email address or somebody's phone number. Those are pretty much the two only options, right? Because once you have that, now you're not stuck to a platform, right? I could text somebody from my phone. I could text somebody from over here, right? I can email somebody from wherever I want, but I can't send a Instagram DM through anything except for Mark Zuckerberg's platform through Instagram, right? So that's why it's so important to own that traffic. And in fact, just to kind of like show this importance, so we did this early access list, right, for the icons pack. I should have the numbers in front of me, but I think we had about a few thousand people. Do you remember how many people got on that early access list?
Yeah, I think it was close to 4 or 5,000, somewhere around there. So,
Okay.
like, a decent amount for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we got about 4 or 5,000 people on that early access list. And of course, for them to get on that list, we required name, email, and phone number, right? And so when we opened up the early access list, the only platforms that we used to reach those people was text and email. There was no Facebook ads. In fact, there wasn't even any organic posts because the whole idea is to open to early access list only, right? So
Mhm.
on that first day, I can't remember if I mentioned this or not, but we did $53,923 in sales on day one in the first 24 hours. So basically $54,000 in one day. And what's cool about that, again, is that's completely from traffic we own from our list. We didn't have to pay Mark Zuckerberg again to try to, run an ad there. We didn't try to post something up organically on TikTok or anywhere else and just hope that a certain amount of people saw it. I knew, hey, we're sending that text message out to, that list, which I think now is like 30,000 plus phone numbers that we have on that list. I know 30,000 phones are going to blow up and they're going to actually look at it, and a decent percentage of those people are going to click it. And that's why we're able to do $50,000 in a day without actually relying on anybody else, right? We own that traffic. That's like the big piece right there.
Yeah, for sure. And if you think about it, so the previous year when we did the first version of Industry Icons, we didn't use text messaging, and we got, I think it was 30,000 or something on day one, which already to me was like, wow, that's incredible. That's like the most I've ever made in a single day with a launch, right? But
Right.
then to almost double that just by basically sending out, as well as one email, sending out one text message, just kind of goes to show like how powerful that is. Because if you think about it, the average open rate for an email might be somewhere in the region of like 10 to 20% or something. 15% on average, I would say, is about right for our industry. But for an SMS, I mean, I'm looking at the stats on my account, and it's like 80%, 85%, sometimes even 90%. So that's like almost like 4 or even 5 times as many people actually like reading this message. And what I particularly love about SMS is the short form version of it, right? It's like really condensed, and it kind of forces you to drill down your message into just the essentials, right? Like an email could be super long, and I've seen novels being sent to me by internet marketers in the past, right? Whereas an SMS, super simple. It takes you like 3 minutes to type up a promotional SMS to send out to your followers. 4 times as many people are going to see it. Way more people are going to reply and click on it. And the results speak for themselves. I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah, yeah, I'm all in on it. And I think maybe now is a good time to make our announcement about something called Crowd Connect. So Crowd Connect is the software that we've been using to do exactly what we've talking about, to send these text messages out, to organize that list that we own, to do these $50,000 days. We've been using this thing called Crowd Connect, and it's something that we've actually been using it collectively between Midi Money and Legion Beats for a couple years in one form or another, the same software. And so we've kind of let a couple of our friends use it here and there. DJ Flip has been using it. Busy Works Beats used it. Larry O used it for a little bit. Some of the members of our Midi Money community who bought Producer Funnel Secrets, we allowed them to test out the software. But for the most part, we've been keeping it under wraps because we're really kind of testing it out, making sure that, if we're going to get in the software business, which is a big jump, that we really want to do it right. We test it. We know that it works. We know we have a great product. And that day has come. So this is actually a pretty momentous occasion right here. And so right now, if you go to crowdconnect.io, depending on when you see this, you're going to see one of three things. You're either going to get on the early access list. We practice what we preach, right? We're talking about early access list. You're going to get an early access list, or the cart might be open, which is only for a very limited time. We're doing a beta group of 100 at the most. And that opening is only going to be open for a week. So if we don't get 100 in a week, fine, we're shutting it down. We're going to take that group through this whole process that we've been talking about. And then eventually, open it up again. If you do see this after that, there'll be a wait list there for you. So don't worry, still go there, crowdconnect.io. We'll get you on that list and let you know as soon as we open up the next round. But I'm just super excited to get you guys on that platform.
Yeah, man, and it's something that I've been so looking forward to actually using and implementing, because there are, there's services out there, but I feel like this kind of like takes all of the best parts of every service and just bundles it into one, because it's not just about sending out an SMS campaign. It's also about all the tagging, the segmentation, the automation. You can set up entire sequences and have these phone conversations with your customers. You can even set up like default automatic replies depending on what they text you. There's just all kinds of stuff. Like the only boundary really is your imagination of what you can do with text messaging and Crowd Connect.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of insane. Like, it's hard to do it justice just talking about it. So if you go over there, we'll have some demos and stuff so that you can see it. But just the amount of automations you can do is insane. You can have stuff. So like if anybody who's listening and watching this is familiar with like Active Campaign, the way they have their automations, or even Zapier, some of these really advanced automation tools, it has something like that built in. And the amount of stuff you can do is insane. Just to start to touch on it, one very simple example could be, hey, you have somebody text a keyword to your phone number, and then that's going to send them a specific text message, right? And then maybe a day later, you're going to send them a voicemail drop, which is this really cool feature where essentially it goes straight to their voicemail and you leave them a voicemail, which is awesome. Then from there, you could add them or remove them from a custom Facebook group. So you might say, hey, all the people who opted in here, I also want to, just hit them with a Facebook ad as well. Or maybe I'm trying to get people to opt into this, so I don't want to spend my money to continue to advertise the people who opted in. I'm going to exclude those people, right? So just that right there is super powerful. Another very cool thing is it actually integrates with Instagram and Facebook. So what that means, you connect your Facebook account, and all of a sudden you have this one unified inbox where you can respond to the text messages that are coming in, but also your Instagram DMs and Facebook messages, and all of it is in the same ecosystem with that automation. So again, just to touch on some of the stuff you can do is, for example, you could say, hey, text me the keyword beats, or sorry, DM me the keyword beats on Instagram, and I'll send you some free beats. And then in Crowd Connect, you can have it set up, and we have templates for all these types of things, where then it'll send them a thing that says, hey, great, here's a link to your beats. By the way, what are you working on, right? And now you can start this conversation. You can do all these things with a combination of really smart automation, but then that personal touch of actually speaking. That's something that's super important that I do want to mention with text messaging. It's very personal, right? And that's a great thing because it's the whole idea to get sales is to get to get trust, right? And to grow that relationship. And so something as intimate as text messaging is one of the best ways to do that, because that's how people communicate with their friends and family, right? So I just wanted to mention one thing there is just be careful with it. You don't want to be sending text messages every single day because people start to get annoyed. So, my general rule of thumb is about one per week. But yeah, anyways, I feel like I went off on like 3 different tangents because I get super excited about this software. Maybe reel me back in. What are we talking?
No. I mean, basically, just play it like Peter Parker. Great responsibility and all that. Great power and great responsibility.
Right.
But yeah, that's why we chose the title as well, Crowd Connect. Right. It's kind of this idea of like bringing in this crowd of people and just really connecting with them on like almost a one-to-one basis. And that's really what it's about, right? That's really the purpose of marketing, to really speak someone's language, connect with them, and make them feel understood and heard, and that you're meeting their needs. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with the software. And obviously we spent a lot of time developing it, perfecting it. Gabe recorded some fantastic tutorial videos. Like you said, there's some like templates in there that you can just copy and paste. For example, like an opt-in sequence for when somebody first joins your text message list, right? There's a default template for that. So you don't even have to do the work necessary to try to like come up with all the copy. Just copy and paste that, change a few words, super simple. But I mean, overall, to me, text messaging marketing just kind of takes the best elements of email marketing, and then just everything that doesn't really work that well with email marketing, like the fact that it's slow to get a response, the open rates are lower, there's a lot of text to digest, all of these things, and it just kind of like simplifies that, condenses it, and makes it much more direct, like you're almost talking to your target customer directly. So yeah, I love it.
And it works really well with email. So like, for example, what we'll have is, let's say somebody opts in, let's say for some free beats or something like that. And then in the follow-up, we're letting them know about a special offer we have, or telling them to go to our beat store or something like that, right? One of the things that's really effective is you might have this whole email sequence, which we definitely recommend, because you can write more, and I do believe in email. It's just, not, the open rates aren't what they used to be, and text messaging is so awesome. But my point is, you use them together. So like one cool trick for this is, let's say 5 days into your email sequence, you write an email that's touching on maybe something a little more personal, but then it ties into the offer you're selling. And so you can send out a text message, and you can automate all this, that goes out on the same day, that says, hey Adrian, I sent you an email today. I think it's something you're really going to be interested. Go ahead and check it out and let me know what you think. And now all of a sudden you're hitting them with multiple channels. It feels more personal. You're using each platform in a native way, right? So you're sending a short text message. You're not trying to fit a whole paragraph, like you were saying before, or a novel into a text message. But what that's going to do is it's going to increase your open rate for your emails, because they're going to be like, oh yeah, shit, okay, cool. What'd you send me? I do want to check that out. And now you're increasing everything, right? The engagement that you're getting on email, which is going to make more of your emails that you send out actually go to inboxes, so people will see them, so your open rate will improve there. So it's just one of many ways that all these things kind of work in synergy, where it's like, this 1+1 = 3, right? It's not just I'm sending a text message, or I'm just sending an email, or I'm just sending an Instagram DM, or I'm just using the web chat widget, which we haven't even talked about yet. But all those things, you can combine them in ways where people feel like you're having this intimate conversation with them, and you can really nurture and develop that relationship over time.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And don't get me wrong, like there's a time and a place for an email. Sometimes, you have a lot of information you want to convey, or sometimes you want to tell a story. That's not something necessarily that you can do easily through a text message, right? Nobody's going to sit there and read like 20 text messages back to back, telling your life story. So it's actually a great tactic to kind of re-engage your email list, like Gabe was saying, with the use of a text message, and then just kind of create this like message ecosystem of, constantly sending people back and forth, re-engaging them, you know, uh, getting their affirmation that they read the email that you sent and stuff like that. So it's just a great way for the whole thing to work together.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of the stuff that we talk about is how to sell from one to many, meaning how do we set up a sales page, or an email, or all these different things, a video, maybe even a webinar, where we are essentially talking to a lot of people at once, right? And that's a really important skill to have. But it's harder in a lot of ways, right? Because you don't know exactly where that other person is coming from, or exactly what their needs are. So you almost have to try to build in what are your potential customers' objections, or what are they going to be skeptical about, and think about it and know in advance, and include it in that sales page or wherever you're selling, right? What's really nice about text messaging specifically is it's so intimate, it's so one-on-one, and the way that we really recommend, and the templates that are included really are for starting these conversations, right? And so what ends up happening is you start that conversation, and now you can talk to that person. Let's say you're selling beats. You can say, "Hey, are you working on any new projects?" "Oh, okay, cool. What kind of beats are you looking for?" "Oh, cool. We have exactly that. Like, do you need some help with this, this, and this?" "Oh, well, I actually happen to have an offer that does that," right? And so it's sort of the shortcut that's going to allow you to, on this more personal level, develop that relationship and ultimately get more sales, right? The first step is, let's nurture that relationship. Let's feel like that they trust you and that you guys are friends, or at least, have that professional relationship. And then that's going to make it so much easier to go to the sale. So even if you're not a funnel ninja master where the headline and the everything is perfect and everything's amazing, when you have that conversation with somebody, they're already sold. And then you can just send them the link to go buy, whatever that is. Maybe send them to your beat store, maybe send them to your funnel if you do have that set up. But it's sort of the ultimate shortcut. And really what I recommend starting on anyways is have those conversations, because those conversations are going to help. You're going to learn what people want, need, what their objections are, and then you can start adding those into your sales pages, into your emails, into the stuff that is going out, one to many.
Yeah, for sure. So if you guys are listening to this, you think this sounds interesting, I got to try this out. This is the future, or the present, really. Let's be honest, like people are already catching on to this right now of marketing. Then go to crowdconnect.io, take a look, read through the information that's on there. There's a video from Gabe as well explaining things a little bit better. And just check it out, try it out. And I guarantee you're going to be super impressed with the results. I mean, I definitely was. Like, let's be honest, this thing saved our launch, right? I was
Yeah.
super worried about the amount of traffic we were getting, but just the fact that we had that, huge boost from the text messaging campaigns that we sent out, we still came out on top. And now, now that we know how powerful this thing is, you better believe we're going to be designing our future launches and campaigns around SMS and Crowd Connect. So yeah, I'm just super excited to carry on experimenting with this thing and just building out crazy campaigns and automations and all sorts of stuff. And by the way, the nice thing about Crowd Connect is it also integrates with basically anything that you want it to integrate with. We have a direct Zapier integration. For those of you who don't know what Zapier is, it's basically a tool that puts various software together, right? So if you're using a specific email service, you're using ClickFunnels, you're using producer funnels, anything like that, you can connect it to Crowd Connect and collect those phone numbers and then send out campaigns through Crowd Connect.
Yeah, and that's the automations and the integrations. I mean, you can really geek out and do some incredible stuff. And what's cool about it too is it works great as a standalone thing. You can literally get set up in about 5 minutes and already have your phone number set up and be able to go on to Instagram or wherever and say, "Hey, text the word beats to this phone number," and have it work right away. Or you could have this super elaborate thing where it integrates with like you said, maybe ClickFunnels or, Producer Funnels or whatever other, a million other softwares, and have it do, create a Trello card and update a spreadsheet, not that you have to do that, but if you're a geek like me who gets into that, it does have that possibility. Which, by the way, you might be thinking like, well, we already have text messaging services, right? People use Community, right? Isn't that like the cool thing? Everybody uses Community. There are a lot of reasons why Crowd Connect is like 1,000 times better than Community. So first one is Community starts at $99 a month. You'll check the page, but we are a fraction of that cost. So that's something that's really cool. The other thing too is Community, you have no control. You actually don't own that traffic, which was something that was wild to me when I talked to them. With Community, you actually don't see anybody's phone number. It's almost like a social media platform where they own those phone numbers. You can't actually export or import those phone numbers. That's not your information. And so if you want to switch platforms, you're screwed. What's cool about one of the things that's cool about Crowd Connect is, let's say you already have a list with some emails, phone numbers, anything like that. You can import that right into Crowd Connect. Let's say you're using Crowd Connect, you love it, it's great, but for whatever reason you're like, you know what, I want to export all my contacts, go to a different platform, or export them for any other reason. Then you can do that in one click. So you have so much more flexibility. You're not locked in for life to this thing. There's no long-term contracts. There's nothing like that. It's just, it's not open source, right? But it's open to you in the fact that you could basically do, whatever you want with it. You have that control. You own that traffic. That was something that was really important to us.
Yeah, and I feel like that's going to be the MO for Midi Money going forward. If we feel like we see that the community needs something, that the community wants something, and it doesn't really exist in a great way, then we're just going to build it. So that's why we're doing that move towards software. That's why we built crowdconnect.io, because nothing like that really existed in the marketplace, or at least the services that are available just aren't that good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why we just built the whole thing from scratch. Why not, right? Because I feel like you guys deserve it, and you guys deserve to be successful like we were with it. So just super excited to see where people take this next.
Yeah, and it makes it fun too. Like it adds another layer, right? So like when we're working on a project, on a launch or anything like that, like I get excited because it's like, okay, cool, we're gonna get our music out to more people, we're gonna make some money, we're gonna do all this cool stuff. But it's always in the back of my head too, like how are we going to release this or teach this or give a tool to the Midi Money community, right? And so that's what this is this is a tool that's really the top of my list right now, and really has been for a little while, that now we get to share with you guys. And in addition to the cost benefits and all the other features that we talked about compared to something like Community, it's built for producers by producers. So the templates that are in there, the training that's in there, the community that you'll be a part of, it's other producers. So we're working on the same goal. It's specifically for you. And so it's not like you have to kind of bend this software to do this other thing that you want it to do. That's what it's designed to do.
Yeah, and if we feel like there's a limitation or some new technology comes around, then you best believe we're going to improve Crowd Connect to the point where it's always going to be best in class.
Yeah, yeah. That's because here's the thing: everything that we teach, everything that we do, it's just what we're doing in our own businesses. So if something stops working or isn't the best or whatever, like we're not going to keep using it, right? We're going to either improve it, or if we have that power, we're going to move on. And so, you guys will see that, and that's the whole idea. So this is kind of the latest with that.
Cool, man. Yeah, so let's wrap it up. You guys, you have to go check out crowdconnect.io. Have a read through the page, watch the videos, check it out, join the beta test if you're watching this early, join the actual software once it's released if you're watching this later on. But I'm just excited to see what you do with this thing.
Super excited. So let us know. Drop a comment if we're on YouTube here and you've gotten a chance to use it. Hit us up anytime, info@midimoney.com. Most importantly, head over to crowdconnect.io to get started. Thanks, guys.